Hello to everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Mikola and I are talking about authenticity today. And yeah, Mikolai, how are you feeling today? Are you excited to talk about authenticity?
I am absolutely great, ready and eager to talk.
Perfect. For the start, what does authenticity mean to you? Or what's it like to you to be authentic?
In a way, I would say that it means to live in truth, to be
Mhm.
truthful, firstly towards yourself and then towards others as well. So
Yeah.
that in order to be authentic, you need to be able to recognize who it is that you actually are, what are your actual actions, and be able to admit to yourself what it is that you're able to observe that you're doing, that you're saying, that you're thinking. And when you're standing within that truth, then you from there you can decide which direction you want to go. And to be authentic is to be able to recognize that truth and to be able to accept it at the same time.
hmm Yeah, because oftentimes we might see something and we deep down we know it's is true, but we don't really accept it. Like for example, our shadow sides or fears we have, insecurities we have. I think people, it's also part of ourselves, but I think it's not talked about enough that we also have those sides in us.
Mhm.
Do you think it's a big part of being authentic to also show those sides, or to to be vulnerable also?
Well, it all depends upon which state or what part of the path we're talking about. In the beginning, the way I see it is we need to become aware of who it is that we are. So meditation is a great tool for that. But you mentioned vulnerability as well. Vulnerability can only happen the moment you know what it is that you're revealing. So if you're not in a space where you are yet aware of all of your different, let's just say, shadows, right? Then you're just going to be projecting everything onto everyone else and thinking that you are a holy person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But in my eyes, a very big part of authenticity is going through this journey of what Carl Jung said, this integration, right? Where you take all of these different parts of yourself and you integrate them into this unified being. I would even go a step further and say that you not only need to integrate it, but you need to then realize that you have the capacity and possibility to do everything, right? We have this spark of divine within us. And as a result, that means we are capable of doing everything. We have the capacity for the evil, we have the capacity for the good at every single moment. And then that then leaves the responsibility within my own hands in regards to what it is that I want to do right now. And so even if an emotion arises, which could be anger, hatred, envy, happiness, whatever it may be, it is then my decision. It's like, okay, I see it, I feel it, but what do I choose to do with it? It's like that one extra added step that most people completely disregard, because one of the big problems that I see with people when it comes to authenticity is like many people justified being basically bad people
Mm-hmm.
and they just call themselves authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I will scream at you and call you all these different names because you made me feel this way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm being authentic. But in my eyes, that has nothing to do with authenticity. That
Mm-hmm.
is just rage dumping, let's just say it. And they're not taking any sort of responsibility for what it is that they feel. It's like we feel the way they feel because certain actions or certain situations made us feel this way. But what it is that I choose to do about it, that is entirely, like the Hindus would say, my karma to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot control how other people will act, but I can control how I will react, or I prefer the word respond
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Um, when we talk about authenticity, do we talk about connection? What would you say? Because I feel like connection to yourself is authenticity. If you feel connected to your most, yeah, truest self, then you're authentic.
Yes.
And also, pardon, also authenticity connects you with other people, because when you're authentic, you attract people who are attracted to that. Because if you're projecting, for example, or if you're pretending to be someone, or we also need to talk about roles you play or masks you have. And if you have a mask or if you play a role, then of course you connect more with people that also identify with that, or that are on the same frequency as that. And I realized when, yeah, when I embraced more of my authenticity, also then people came into my life that were more like me, or that resonated more. And that's the best feeling ever, to connect with people that feel like you belong, or you feel like, yeah, you're connected.
Mm.
And yeah, what I would like you to ask is, do you see people wearing masks, or people hiding from certain parts of themselves? And if so, what do you think are the most things people hide from?
It's a very big question. That's a very big question that you asked me.
Yeah, take
Uh,
your time, and yeah, you don't need to answer right away.
yeah, I would like to look around a little bit, like because I would say that authenticity is broken down into two steps. You very precisely pointed out the first step, which is this connection that you have when it comes to alignment. But another thing that happens, and you sort of briefly mentioned it in a roundabout way, that the moment I say it is okay to be me, I allow other people, and I say through my actions, either consciously or unconsciously, that it is okay to be you. So
Hmm.
the moment I allow myself to be authentic and be myself, I allow those in my environment to also be authentic and be themselves. But the
Hmm.
moment I start acting, the moment I put on all these different masks, the different roles that you mentioned, is
Hmm.
the moment me saying it is not okay to be you. Just remember, like when we're interacting, you're not supposed to be you. We're supposed to play out these different roles that we agree upon.
Hmm.
And so that's the second step of that. And this
Hmm.
is why authenticity is so fun, but it also could be very tricky to begin with, because you set these sort of expectations toward yourself to be a certain way or to fit into a certain type of category of a person that you create in your mind. But the moment you let go of that, you still see ripples of that, because that's what you sold to everybody around you, right? It's like, I am this type of person. And then the moment you act out of character, everybody are going to be like, is everything okay with you? It's like, you're acting a little strange today. It's like you speak differently, or you're acting weird. It's like you say
Yeah.
you don't like pizza and today you're eating pizza. What's wrong with that?
Mhm.
Right? And so it's like, by selling ourselves through these masks, then we sort of create our own prison, where the environment around us reminds us of the masks that we ourselves created. This is why, for example, many people who undertake the spiritual path, in the beginning they go off to some faraway country and they surround themselves in a unfamiliar culture, because over there nobody knows you, and there's nobody to remind you of how you ought to be or how you should be.
Mhm.
Furthermore, because it's a different culture, most of what you do will seem very, very strange to them. It's like, why are you not taking off your shoes? You're going into a shop, it's like, in Europe it's very unheard of, but in Thailand it's normal that if you go into a temple or into a shop, you take off your shoes.
Mhm.
And so it sort of breaks down all of these preconceived ideas that we really got stuck into as normal within the society that we originally came from. But on another side of the planet, they're completely alien and unknown. And so it really shows us all the different ways in which we were playing these games, where we were playing all these masks without even realizing. Because we create these masks from a very early age in order to fit in, right? But then we need to learn to be in alignment with ourselves, like you mentioned, in alignment with something greater than ourselves, I would even say.
Mhm.
Like, I do use the Bible quite a lot to justify certain things, and one of the things is you should cultivate a fear of God. You should be afraid of God, and what it means is you shouldn't sit there. It's like, oh my God, he's so scary. Right? That's not what I'm talking about. But the moment you are afraid of God is the moment that you are more fearful to not follow through on your purpose than you are to let down the people who are around you, than of the judgment of the people that you possibly may see you doing this thing. Right? Because the moment we're following our path, we're always going to go out of our comfort zone. We're always going to go out into the unknown, and we're going to establish something new, basically. And the moment you're establishing something new, you're always going to be open to various forms of opinions, let's just call them, from known and unknown people to, to us. And that could be family, that could be friends, that be new people that you meet as a result of doing the new thing. But if you're afraid of God, so of your purpose not being fulfilled fully, then you will still do it. But if you're afraid of the world, then you will be stuck in inaction, because you're going to be thinking, oh, what this person is going to think about me. Oh, what if I make a fool of myself if I do this? Oh, what if this doesn't work out? And so that's how we prevent ourselves from action. And that's where these masks would prevent us rather than help us, right?
Mhm.
In many, many different contexts, spiritually at least, these masks are only there preventing us from being ourselves. They don't
Mhm.
help us, because you can be well adapted to society and functioning very well within the society without all of those masks. But it just takes a certain level of experience, commitment, and practice. Assuming, of course, that you are well oriented within good. Right? We're pointing towards something greater. We're pointing towards something that we can agree upon that is good.
Okay, thank you for your response. Do you see something that people have in common? Like more people wear those kind of masks, or that a lot of people hide from the same things, that they hide from a certain aspect of themselves? Or is it completely different for every person?
Based upon my travels, I can say that different people on no people on the different continents would have a tendency, right? So within Europe, our tendency is all about self-worth and self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
We really struggle with the aspects of self-worth in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
In Asian countries, I'm talking about Far East, around Thailand area, it's more about communication and expression.
Mm-hmm.
Japan area would be more about honor, whereas, for example, the Northern America would be all about safety,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I do see certain overarching topics that different continents do deal with as a whole, but masks in particular would be mostly, I would say, European thing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about the ego, right? And we're protecting the ego, we're developing the ego, we're cultivating the ego in certain ways, and that's all about the third chakra, which is acceptance, self-worth, and the way we present ourselves, or the way we think ourselves to be.
Mm-hmm.
So masks, I would say, it's in a lot of ways a very European thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is why so many Europeans have all of these different masks that we show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
that's an
to a
interest.
greater or lesser degree, every um, culture would deal with it as well, but they just deal or have it manifest physically in a different way.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, interesting to know. We are getting conditioned during our childhood. We are learning patterns, we are learning things from our parents, from our environment, and then we think that's the truth because we experience it like that. And when we are getting older, we sometimes don't even realize that we have certain patterns until maybe something happens, or we, yeah, we realize it at one point. And how do we unlearn those patterns? How do we, yeah, how do we say to ourselves we don't want this anymore because we choose to be a different kind of way, a new person?
The easiest and first step that I would recommend for anybody who wants to change their patterns is start meditating.
Mhm.
Observe yourself actively. So that there is a difference between meditation and active observation. Meditation, you sit down, you do 20 minutes of breath, and then you finish and you go off into your life, right? And you create this box that this is my spiritual life and there is my life.
Mhm.
But what active observation is as you are practicing your meditations, when you go out into the world, you actually observe yourself. You observe what type of reactions you're having, you observe what type of thoughts you're having, you observe what type of words you're speaking and what actions you're taking. And as you start to observe yourself actively in the world, I say actively because it requires you to consciously focus on yourself and watch yourself and watch what you're doing. A lot of people fo- uh, a lot of people act in like this subconscious way where they just basically automatic, they get up, they brush their teeth, they make their coffee, they drive to work, they sort the papers in exactly the same way, and it is as though they're physically there but their mind and focus is somewhere completely miles away.
Mhm.
They've done these tasks so many times that it just became a complete autopilot where their focus and attention is completely somewhere else the moment they're doing it. And so, what I recommend is bringing that focus and attention into that task once again, and be present with the task that you're doing, and see how you're doing the task and why you're doing the task, and most importantly, what it is that you're focused upon as you're doing that task.
Mhm. Okay.
And that is going to cause you to then develop the ability to see what are your patterns. And once you're aware of your patterns, that's basically 95% of the work, because the moment you are aware of it, it doesn't mean that now you have to go off and do some sort of great transformation and or transmutation, and you need to go through these processes for the next half a year to get rid of something, because we cannot get rid of something. But what we can do, like we already mentioned in the beginning, we have the potential for everything. I can choose a different path. So it's like I see every morning at 7:15 I go out and I have a smoke. So this time I'm stepping outside, I notice, oh, I've stepped outside in order to have a smoke. So I will go on my phone instead and I will scroll for a while and take a few deep breaths and then I will go back inside. That's actually how my mom quit smoking.
Mhm.
She was smoking a lot, and then she had a problem with her tooth, and
Mhm.
they took the tooth out and she had to stop smoking for a little while. And what she noticed she started doing is, instead of going out for a smoke, she started going out and just taking a few deep breaths, and she would feel exactly as though she smoked, because that's what you do when you smoke, is you go outside and you take a few deep breaths. But most people, what they do is, when they want to quit smoking, they will never allow themselves to just go outside and take a few deep breaths, because that's crazy cuckoo nonsense, right?
Mhm.
But the moment you do is you calm down the nervous system, you relax yourself, and so the moment you do that, you get all of the benefits, more or less, of smoking without all of the negatives.
Mhm. Yeah, what she did is essentially basic. Oh no, sorry, I'm not completely fully awake. My brain is sometimes faster than my mouth. But so what I wanted to say is, so she essentially replaced a bad habit with a good one. And I think, yeah, have you read the Atomic Habits book from James
Yep.
Clear? Yeah, I found that to be very, very good for, yeah, changing your life and replacing old patterns. Also, so if someone wants to read that, I would highly recommend it. It's very, very good. Um, so what I would like to go back is also to our childhood and how authentically ourselves we usually are as a child. And I think sometimes it's just going back to how we used to be as a kid. Do you agree, or do you think authenticity is something completely different?
I don't think I fully understand the question. Could you rephrase it?
Hmm. Okay, so when we are kids, we usually are very authentic. We are
Mm.
doing the things we want to do. We are waking up. We don't have any doubts in our head. We just think everything is possible and we can fly to the moon. We can become the five-star chef in our own restaurant. And then we grow up and we minimize our dreams. We hide certain aspects of ourselves because maybe it's not accepted in a society. And then later on we realize we lost something we had initially.
Mm.
Is it is
We
it
rationalized it into oblivion.
Yeah, yeah. So that we what I want to ask is, do you think a step towards more authenticity is going back and into your childhood and reflecting about what you liked as a child and then maybe picking up some things, or yeah, having that childlike attitude of just exploring?
Yes, I would agree to it. There are certain elements and steps to life. And so, in the beginning, what happens is we're truly, fully authentic and are fully ourselves. But what a child is just pure chaos. And also very naive because they know nothing about life. And so, it's like a child has no problem with just sticking their hand into a raging fire because it's like, oh, what's this? And so there is a certain element that we learn in the process of this rationalization where we go, it's like, oh, but if I do put my hand into the fire, I'm going to burn myself badly and I'm going to injure my hand, possibly
Mhm,
permanently. And so that step is also important to learn, to know that there is a real danger to the things that we're doing, possibly, right? Depending what the task we talk about. But then the next step to that, you go from one extreme to another extreme, is to find the balance where you are aware of the danger that action and non-action facilitates, and despite that you're still choosing to embrace the good, you're still choosing to embrace the authentic self,
mhm,
right? It's sort of like saying, uh, the authentic good thing, right? You go to the shop and so you pay for your groceries and they give you more change than they need to. And you realize that it's like, oh, they give me a lot more. And so the good thing is to go back and give it to them. Like,
mhm,
right? It's like they made an honest mistake. And so you go back, you give it to them. You do not gain anything from that, but it is a good thing to do. And the moment you adapt that sort of morality, is that then allows you to be authentic and truthful in your expression, because we're talking about truth, right? We're going back to the original description that I give of authenticity, is you living in the truth. And so
mhm,
you put the truth above all else. And so if you would have taken that, you would have perpetrated or lived into the idea that lying is okay, but
mhm,
lying is not okay. And so you go back and you give the thing back so that you can live more authentically, because then It's the same with emotion. It's the same with if you get into an argument with someone. It's not about screaming and shouting at them, but saying it's like, I just disagree with you on this part. And the way you communicate also matters greatly. And there is a lot to be learned in regards to balanced and harmonious communication, I would say. But yes, to summarize it, in the beginning we're just naive and we're total chaos, and so we're, you could argue, we're purely authentic. But then we learn to limit that. But then we need to go a step beyond that and combine the two together, so that you are aware of the dangers and you're aware of potential options, and you still embrace despite everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, yeah, thank you. Um, what is something you can recommend doing to people despite meditation or active observation, you already said, to do maybe even daily or to do, yeah, regularly to discover more parts of yourself?
Of course, meditation is going to always be number one. Also, because I teach energy work, I also recommend working with energy. It's the way I see it. Working with energy is more like a active form of meditation, because we associate meditation with being very still and just without any movement, whereas working with energy involves physical movement whilst being in this observational state. So I personally highly recommend working with energy as well. But then another thing that you can do is just journaling, a very simple thing that everybody can do. You just take a piece of paper and you write down about your day, how you felt, what you did, how you feel about the things that you did. And from time to time also, look back at your life from a bigger picture. Look at your life from today, but then once a month maybe look back at your month, and maybe once every half a year look back at your entire life up to this point. And
Mhm.
that will reveal a ton. Like, I mean, really, like, if you do that for like 2 years, you're gonna know so much about yourself that you never even imagined.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love that. I also journal a lot, and it sometimes you don't even consciously do things, and you then look at it from an outside perspective and you realize, oh wow, I didn't realize I did that, but it's so obvious now because you have like a certain distance to yourself. You're like an observation. It's like an observation from outside of yourself,
Hmm.
and yeah, very helpful. Hmm.
One thing that I would like to underline, and it's something that I just cannot stress enough, and I see people make this mistake over and over and over again, is they greatly underestimate the power of the little things. They think
Hmm.
that if they meditate for 2 minutes, it's not going to make a difference. They think that if they journal, like just write down 2 or 3 sentences per day, it's not going to make a difference. But I can assure you that if you implement it and you do it every day, those 2 minutes, after 1 year, your whole life is going to be very, very different. There is one beautiful quote I picked up somewhere along the way within the last few years, and it's, from day to day, nothing changes. But when we look back, everything is different. And
Hmm.
that is exactly the power of our little habits that we are either conscious of or unconscious of. If you do not have any habits, like people would say, that you cultivate every day, that means you have tons of habits that you're unconscious of, like probably scrolling, smoking, playing video games, whatever it may be. You just aren't aware of the fact that this is your habit because you didn't register, you didn't observe yourself keenly enough to notice that, oh, I actually do this every single day.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so true. Yes. Mm, I have another question. Do you think trying to fitting trying to fit in into society is mm, something most people do? And hmm, let me rephrase that. Um, wait a second. Do you think people can lose their identity by trying to fit in too hard to society's norms or other people's expectations? Do you think that's possible?
I would say it is not only possible, it is inevitable. The moment you put the society and other people above yourself is the moment you're always going to lose your own identity in the process.
Mhm.
So the only way to counter that is you put yourself above the society and other people, as long as you manage to maintain the idea that you're also striving towards good, to make sure that you don't dive off into different forms of narcissism. So I am important,
Mhm.
but what I do is driven by the desire to do good in the world and share that goodness with the world. And so as a result, I can be part of society, do something productive in the society, and have meaningful, fulfilling relationships with the people around me. That is a side effect of me putting myself first, working on myself actively, and striving to do good. The moment one of these two elements are lacking, is you either going to be working towards evil, right? Or some people might try to argue, it's like, oh, but I don't want to be evil, I don't want to be good. I didn't do anything bad in my life, and it's a statement I hear a lot from people who are very sick in their old age, or they end up in a very bad situation in their old age. I traveled around Poland a lot. I worked in hospices and different places like this, and I've met many older people who are in a very bad positions. And when I went into a deeper conversation with them, I found out that they didn't do anything evil, but they never strived to do anything good either. They were
Mhm.
always keeping themselves off to the side. They were always taking the safe, easy route. They were making sure they never went out of their way in order to offend anybody or anything like this. So they were trying to fit in as best as they could, but of course they lost their identity as a process. But
Mhm.
the statement I would hear from one person in particular is like, I'm not such a bad person. Why is all of this happening to me? And I look at their life, I know them very well. I know what they're up to, at least the last 10 years.
Mhm.
But during those 10 years, I cannot say one thing that I know that this person would have gone out of their way to do in order to do good. They never trained, so in order to look after their body. They never meditated in order to look after the mind. They read one book, and after that, reading that one book, they decided they know everything and they don't need to study again. And they never spend any time trying to help anybody else, as far as I can tell. They That's it, for the whole 10 years that I know them. They
Mhm.
don't work because they're given money by the government. And so it's like you didn't do any of these things. So you have to ask yourself, okay, so what did you actually manage to do during this time? Because you did do something, like we're humans, and I don't really know any humans who are able to sit stationary for 12 hours or 16 hours every day, you know? And because we get bored, and so
Mhm.
like this person must have been doing something. It's just that they never strived to do anything good, and as a result they're not good. It's a quote that I use, is like, just because you're not doing evil things, that doesn't make you a good person. Many people disagree with me on this point, but I really live by this point, because in order to be a good person you need to actively seek to be a good person and actively choose to do good, not just not choose to do bad things, but also choose to do the good thing. Right? It's very good that we're not actively taking heroin right now, but just because we're not taking heroin, it doesn't make us good people.
Mhm. Right, yes. So you said also doing good things for yourself, right? Like
Hmm.
exercising or eating healthy, taking care of yourself. That's also something that's closely tied to authenticity because it's, yeah, it's about self trust also, and also telling yourself that you are, yeah, worthy enough to be doing those things, to be taking care of yourself. And so when someone struggles with self-worth or trying to choose themselves, how do you think you can change your way of thinking, for example, or your the things you do to be more connected to yourself and to see your self-worth more?
So, if you wish to be authentic, you need to act under the presupposition that you are choosing love in all aspects, whether it be towards yourself or towards others. There's always a fine balance, and each case has to be really looked at individually when and how much love is about myself and about others. But I always bring it back towards yourself first. And I mean it truly from the space like I am choosing to love myself, therefore I look after myself to the best of my ability, as if I am someone that I look after, right? This body, this mind, this is something that I get to look after, and I don't have to, I don't must, I choose to. And it's an opportunity.
Hmm.
It's an opportunity for me today to feed my mind positive information. It is an opportunity for me to train and become more flexible or stronger or whatever. And the moment you treat it like an opportunity to show the divinity within your daily life, then everything will start going your way and you're going to be authentic all the time. But as I said, it works under the presupposition that I am choosing love first.
Hmm.
Because the moment I try to be authentic from the space of safe self-hate,
Hmm.
even though I'm going to be training, I'm going to be changing my diet, I'm going to be doing many things, I'm going to be generating a ton of stress, a ton of cortisol, a ton of things that are going to cause me to get sick down the line, and it's completely unsustainable.
Hmm.
Because you cannot change yourself from this point and belief system that there is something wrong with myself, there's something wrong with me. Because
Hmm.
the moment you believe that there is something wrong with me is the moment you're pushing yourself away. You're saying, I cannot be this. I am not worthy of love. I am not worthy of acceptance. So you're going to, because you're not worthy of love, you're not going to give yourself any love. And so you're going to maybe even manage to cut out some of the bad habits, but other bad habits are going to replace them, because you cannot do the good stuff, because to give yourself the good stuff you need to love yourself, and you are fundamentally saying I am not worthy of love. And since you're saying I am not worthy of love, then how can you give yourself all the things of love? Furthermore, you give unto another that which you are. I will repeat this one more time. You give unto other people in your environment that which you are, not that which you want to give.
Hmm.
You, everybody know this. If you ever been angry and you love somebody, you're still gonna shout at them and you're still gonna argue with the person.
Hmm.
It's not because you hate the person, you love them very dearly, but right now you're angry, and that's what you are. You are in a state of anger, and so you're giving anger, and so you're sharing that anger with those around you. And so if you're naturally happy, then if somebody sad walks up to you, you're gonna start making jokes with them, and they're gonna laugh very quickly, depending who has stronger energy, so to speak. But generally speaking, if you are happy and you meet someone, you're gonna lift them up,
Hmm.
right? If you're a happy person naturally, then other people who come into your energy field, they're gonna also feel very happy, because our emotions are very contagious.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
is
What I just thought about is that I think it's very important to also, when you say you are the anger, you need to be careful, in my opinion, to not identify with the anger, because when you see it as I am the anger, or I am those negative thoughts, for example, I have about myself or about certain things, about others, then you're making it part of yourself or your identity. But it's very important to see it as something not outside of yourself, but something that's not you, essentially, like you within your deepest soul, for example, or within your deepest parts of yourself. It's something that it's a situational thing. It's a something that comes up at the moment, but you don't need to identify as it. And you, it helps a lot, for example, if you have negative thoughts or if you have emotions that come up, and you distance yourself a little bit, or you observe again, you observe the thoughts, you observe the emotions that come up, and you say, I experience those emotions, or I experience those thoughts, but I'm not am those thoughts or emotions.
Mm,
Do you
fully true.
think?
You are
Yeah.
not the mind, you are not the body, you're not your emotions.
Mm, yeah. Do you think mm, beca- we are we are our own worst critic, or we are our own worst enemy? Do you think that's true?
It can be.
Yeah.
It very well can be. It's not. It's all about how you choose to cultivate your garden. I mean, the mind, right?
Hmm.
You can grow tulips and roses, or you can grow thistles and thorns.
Mm,
You can focus on the hate, or you can focus on the love. And it's a choice that we're actively making every single day. And
mm,
it's just because now I say, oh, I wish to be good, it doesn't mean that for the rest of my life I will be doing good things. Choosing to be good is something I choose now, and it's something I choose now, and it's something I choose now, and it's something I have to choose every single time, every single moment for the rest of my life.
mm,
And this is something that I see many people get stuck on. Is they, especially in Europe, I see many people, because we set goals, we set many amazing goals, which generally is a good thing, but it's we have this sort of very naive idea that once I reach this goal, once I have this many zeros in my bank account, once this many people follow me on YouTube, once I achieve this thing, I'm just gonna lay on the couch for the next 20 years and everybody just gonna worship me and I'm gonna be totally blissed out of my mind 24/7. That's how we um, idol, idolize it,
mm,
right? It's like we imagine that once I get this thing, everything is gonna change. My life is just gonna be pure love and amazingness for the rest of the life, you know?
mm,
But that's a very big trap, of course, because we force ourselves then to push to try and get this goal. And so we create a certain form of suffering for ourselves. It's like, oh, just 2 more days. It's like, and I can push through that. Come on. But we achieve that, and then a new goal is set.
mhm,
And so we go, okay, I can, okay, 2 more days. Okay, I push for 1 more week then. I managed those 2 days. Let's push for 1 more week. And then it's all going to work out. I'm going to get that promotion. I'm going to earn more money. I'm going to have more of this. But the reward for pushing yourself and going through that suffering that we create ourselves is you get to experience more suffering. Congratulations. Because you are creating from the space of suffering.
mm,
You said that, oh, because right now you cannot have peace. You're saying, oh, I need to get through all this suffering and then I can do something. Rather than choosing peace now, there is a very nice parable, and I heard many, many people here in Thailand tell me this one is a European guy comes up to a Thai guy laying on the beach, and the Thai guy just laying there, sunbathing, drinking a coconut, and
mm,
the European guy goes, why are you doing this? Like, why are you not fishing? It's like, I don't need to fish. I have a coconut. And then the European goes, but look, you could have you can fish and then you would make money. And when you make the money, you could buy a better boat. And when you buy a better boat, you can get more fish. And when you get more fish, you can employ some people to get the fish for you. And when they get the fish for you, you don't have to fish anymore. And so when you don't have to fish anymore, you will put a hotel here, and so people will have a place to stay, and so that will make you more money, and then you can build your house here, and then after 25 years you're not going to have to do anything. Like, you are going to have all this money coming in from everywhere. And the Thai guy just listens to him rambling and goes, and then after those 25 years, what will I do? Well, you will get to lay down on the beach and enjoy the coconuts. And we have this backwards thinking often in Europe, where we think, when I get this impossibly infinitely long list of tasks done, I will enjoy my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's all the trick to a happy life in my eyes is, I will find a way to do things happily now for the rest of my life, because I am, let's just say, mature enough to understand there will always be things I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And since there will be things I need to do, I might as well find a way to enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
And in my eyes, that's the secret to a very happy life.
Yeah,
Not that I will force myself to achieve some goals, but I work towards my goals, of course. But I find a way to do it in such a way that it brings me joy and peace and not stress and suffering.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Yes, I also observed that there is this thing about toxic or harsh self improvement, where it's, as you said, it's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of dissatisfaction with your life or with yourself, and then you're trying to build something on a foundation that's already broken, and that doesn't work because at one point it's just the house is gonna break down. So you said, or as I would say it, something about authentic self growth, where you're growing but in an authentic way, not from a place of lack. How can you embrace this self growth and this growing and wanting to work towards your goals and working towards your goals and striving for more, but not from a place of lack, but from a place of fulfillment? How can you balance those two aspects of like striving for more, but also being satisfied with where you're at? Because it's like a, yeah, quite the opposite, or quite the two polarities.
I like this question. It's a very good question. I will begin by saying a line between greatness and folly is very, very thin.
Mm,
Uh, right? This is the standing principle that I will build on. It is very important that you're forgiving towards yourself
mm,
as you are diligently working towards your goal. So you have a goal. We have certain type of life we would like to have. I don't have it right now, and so I know I can take certain steps to get to it. Along the path, I will fail. Of course, I will fail. But each failure teaches me something the moment I allow myself to learn from it, and dwelling upon the fact that I failed. And it's like, oh my God, I am so bad. It didn't work out, is only taking away time from the next achievement that I could accomplish.
mm,
And paradoxically, I always, in my own eyes, judge myself that my greatest accomplishment is that I failed more times than I can count.
mm,
Because I've always set myself impossibly high goals, completely impossible. Like, I
mm,
would consider them completely impossible from the place where I was always making them. But the way I would see them is like from point A to point B to point C, D, E, F, right? And I would get from point A to point 95% B, and then I would realize there is point C, and I would completely drop point B, and I would
mm,
continue on to point C, and at 95% way to the point C, I realized that there is point D, and I would completely drop the point C. But I never really achieved the things that I planned to achieve at the time. But from the looking at it backwards, from the time perspective, these things now that I, let's just say, set for myself like 14 years ago, they're so small and so trivial that it wouldn't even take me 5 minutes to do now. You know?
Mm-hmm.
because of the development of the failures that, like, it goes up and up and up and up, and so you go higher and higher and higher, and your life and you improve, and before you know it, you're better in every single aspect of your life, but all you can show is a lot of failures all around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was traveling for about 10 years of my life, and during those 10 years my goal was one: I go to Japan. And for each year I didn't end up in Japan, I was like, I'm failing at this, I'm doing very bad job. But before I ended up in Japan, I visited 40 countries, and in those 40 countries I learned stuff, I met people, I developed certain skills, abilities, I studied different cultures, religions, so on and so forth. And so in a way, I was failing because I wasn't in Japan, but at the same time I was succeeding because of all the skills I developed as a result.
Mm-hmm.
But I was diligent, so I was doing the best I could with what I was given, but I was also forgiving to myself for all the failures that did happen, and we all have worse days, we all have bad days or whatever. But during those days, it is very important to be gentle with yourself. We cannot be harsh to ourselves. There is nothing good comes from beating yourself up. If you messed up yesterday, then spend today making sure that it never happens again instead of beating yourself up about it, because this is how addictions are formed.
Mm-hmm.
Many people that I worked with that had addictions that no longer have them, is they had this pattern where they would smoke marijuana, for example, for like a month straight. And after every time they smoke, they're like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person. I told myself I would go to the gym, and instead I'm sitting here. I smoked, and I'm never gonna accomplish anything. I'm such, it's just a whole list of bad affirmations, basically, fueled with this energy of guilt, and filled with this energy of shame. And that builds into you smoking again, because you smoke and you create this very big amount of energy, emotion, and so that emotion then fuels you to smoke again, right? Because thought plus emotion, that's two different things put together, that's going to create action. And so if we're thinking about smoking and we're saying it's a terrible thing, well, we're charging it emotionally, and so sooner or later we're going to be doing it again and again and again. And so the way I got them to stop, I just said, every time you decide to smoke, you're not allowed to judge yourself for it, enjoy it. And what happened in most cases is, for about 1 to 2 weeks they would go haywire, where they would smoke like double the amount of what they would normally smoke, but then they'd be like, this sucks, this is boring, like, because you remove the whole energy, you remove the entire emotional charge, and as a result, it's no longer gives you that kick. Until it doesn't give you that kick, it becomes boring, and so they would just completely drop the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I diverged from the topic a little bit.
That's all right, but I think we landed somewhere where I we can go on, because I think that's a very, very huge part and very important part, because where you the things you choose to water, they grow, as you said.
Mm,
And where you put energy, where energy flows, no, wait, where focus goes, energy flows.
yeah,
So yeah, the
my
things you
favorite line.
learn, yeah, they just multiply, or they become. It's also to do with neuroplasticity, and when right, when neurons connect together, they what fires together wires together, they build connections, and the more you strengthen those connections, the more or the harder it gets to part them or to break them again. And so the things you do repeatedly, also, as you said, they become, yeah, stronger. And yeah, what would you say to someone who wants to realizes that they are doing something repeatedly and it's hard for them to break out of the cycle because they are so used to it? Do you have any tip for them, any advice? how to break that cycle?
The best advice I can give for that is ask yourself, what would you want your life to look like instead of what it looks like right now?
Mhm.
Instead of, for example, smoking, what would you rather be doing?
Mm,
Imagine that thing, and now go and do that thing. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about next week. Don't worry about 1 month from now. But every time the urge comes up to smoke, for example, remember what would you want your life to look like instead, and then go act out that thing. It will take about 2 to 3 weeks to rewire yourself, so you're going to have to do that consciously, like for about 2 to 3 weeks, and after that it's going to become automatic. Your craving for smoking will completely disappear, and you're just going to start thinking about this thing instead. But the first few times we really need to stop and be like, okay, I feel this, so what? But what I choose to do next,
mm,
what I see many people is do, they become like puppets in my eyes. It's like anytime they feel sort of any type of emotion, they straight away react to the emotion. It's like, oh, I'm feeling this, and so I'm gonna do that. And then next day, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm gonna do that.
mhm,
But it's like you're a slave to your own emotion.
mhm,
Emotions are there to allow you to experience life through different lenses, and they allow you to create different types of realities. But you are not your emotions. The emotion is there to show you the possibility to experience life in a certain way. The only question is, are you interested? And the moment you're interested, then you go in and you follow that emotion. But the moment you say, oh, I'm not interested, is there anything else? Then something else is going to appear. Like one of the filters I do personally is the moment I have any sort of reaction, doesn't matter, positive, negative, I ask myself, what good is this going to do? If I
mhm,
react this way or that way, what good will that do? And this is happening like maybe 1 second, 2 second max, right? Because this is the space that you have. It's like something happens here, and this is your reaction here, and so you want to have a space like this, right? Where there is 1 to 2 seconds between how you're gonna react to what is happening. Like
mhm,
somebody asks you a question, you stop. This is what I'm gonna say. Okay. And you
mhm,
continue.
mhm,
Somebody crashes the car, you don't need to jump out and be the hero straight away. You need to look to see if all of your limbs are still in place and if you're not bleeding anywhere, right? And so when you establish that, then you can go and help other people, right?
mhm,
So you're creating this space, and the more you give yourself, like I always say, give yourself up to 3 seconds, and during those 3 seconds, that's a lot of time.
mhm,
That's 3 seconds. That's a long pause, right? So giving yourself those 3 seconds, you can ask, what good will this do? And the moment you actually apply that and answer diligently, again, it's all about how you choose to answer, because you can say, it doesn't matter. Well, that's the answer you're going to receive, right? The answer that doesn't matter. But if you say, okay, what good will this do? And actually focus, 99% of emotions will disappear, because you will come to the conclusion it's not going to do any good. And a different emotion is going to appear that will create good.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, a very good, yeah, way of just pausing and then ref- reflecting and then continuing. Not also because so many people, they just hurry through their life. They don't even take 1 second to be present, and yeah, that's very, it's very hard to realize or to reflect about those things when you're always chasing after something else, or yeah, you're chasing something, you're just constantly moving and you're not pausing. So yeah, take a break and pause and then continue. It's very important. What I would like to pick up again, also maybe to finish this conversation, is you talked before, you talked about something that's called Everest goals, like the highest timeline you could possibly imagine, the highest goals where you dream so big that it seems completely delusional. You're out of your mind, you're imagining something that's so big, and for your current state it's not possible to believe. But as you said, because you open yourself up to the possibility that you try to go there, there are opening up ways along the path that maybe don't fully achieve this thing, but you wouldn't have gone there if you had just played it small, basically,
Mm.
or to not think that big. So what I think is so important, to take a piece of paper and write down everything you can possibly imagine, or everything you think you want to have in your highest timeline, your most authentic version of yourself, what you truly want, and write it down, even if it seems out of your mind or impossible. And just write it down and, yeah, imagine it, visualize it, live with the feeling of it. What would you say can you do to see that highest timeline, or to, yeah, to connect with that?
Somehow I had a feeling you're gonna ask that question the moment you started to speak about it.
Right.
It's very easy. So take a piece of paper, pen. I'm gonna dictate the question right this moment. If I gave you $50 million right this moment, what would you do?
Mm.
Would you change the country? Would you change the place that you're living? Would you change your job? Would you pursue a different career? What would you do? That's the most basic version. Some people need a little bit more than this. So there are two more questions that I will give. One is, imagine you're creating life from scratch and you just created the planet and you haven't placed yourself in the planet yet. Where would you place yourself within the planet? What country would you put yourself in? What would you be doing in that country? What type of people would surround you and what type of character would you have? That's a second one, which is more branching out, bigger question, but it aims at exactly the same idea. But the third one, which is like really bulletproofing your life and bulletproofing the way you carry yourself through life, is, imagine you are 95 years old right now, laying in bed, and you are about to die. You will not do anything more anymore. You have literally 1 minute to just look back at your life. What type of life would you have to have lived in order to be able to say that it was worth it? That one is really bulletproofing it because it puts you in a completely different perspective. It really gets rid of many of the qualms and problems and morality issues that many people have, and they just look at the life from the broader perspective. Sometimes, if I want to scare the person, I give them a little bit different question, which is, imagine you are 90 years old right now, but nothing in your life would change. Like whatever it is that you're doing now, you're going to be doing for the rest of your life until the age of 90. Does that idea excite you or scares you? If it excites you, you're doing something right. If it scares you, it means you're doing something wrong.
Mhm. Great.
And
Thank you.
whenever you have the answer to that, that is your goal. It's not that you need to go and do that now, but this is something that you should be working towards. And so, in order to not get overwhelmed by your impossible goal that is completely unfathomable at the moment, is you take it and break it down into as many steps as possible, as small as possible. And you really need to be humble for this,
Mhm.
to the degree where you can actually take an action every single day to work towards it. So, for example, if you want to become a diver, a certified diver, you probably want to be living somewhere near to the beach, somewhere where you have access to the water, so you can actually go and practice diving, right? And you want to be associating yourself with people who are diving, and you want to have some experience and do different courses in regards to diving. If you want to be an actor, you probably want to pick up some acting stuff. You want to be surrounding yourself with people who are interested in acting. You want to be seeking out or creating circles of acting for people to meet up and stuff like this. And so, whatever it may be, if you want to start being a bodybuilder, you need to start going to the gym. All of these things, but always break it down to some sort of actions that you can repeat every single day that move you closer to that goal. And then also on top of that, you have certain tasks that you do from time to time. You have to break it down into the daily and the tasks that happen from time to time. Like, I
Mhm.
call them limited time events because I play computer games. So it's like you have your dailies and you have your limited time events, which would be like creating a YouTube channel, or creating a course, I would say, or writing a book. You do that for 1 year and it's done, but you reap the benefits of that for the rest of your life. Whereas gym, it's something that you pick up today, but you continue to do for the rest of your life. Right? So these are your dailies. It's something that you need to become comfortable with doing for the rest of your life, and finding a way of doing it so that it fits you and suits your lifestyle. Because if you're trying to go to the gym and you do 1 rep maxes every single time you go to the gym, and you try to go to the gym 2 times per day, you're going to end up in the hospital before you gain any muscle,
Mhm.
because it's completely unsustainable. But if you want to train 2 times per day, then you probably want to do some high volume, low weight type of exercises, right? So the body can maintain it and you can recover from that. You get what I'm trying to say, I think, at this point. You have to adapt everything to what you're living, but always have your dailies and your limited time events.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Thank
there are no tasks too small as well. That's the last point.
you. Hmm. Yeah. Thank you for
Everything
sharing.
makes a difference.
100%. Yes. Do you have anything you would like to say to wrap up this episode about authenticity?
Every time before you open your mouth, ask yourself, what good will it do? What you're
Hmm.
trying to speak, ask yourself, what good will those words do the moment you speak them?
Hmm.
And if the answer is there be no good, don't bother saying it.
Hmm.
And just apply that to your life. I can assure you, within next half a year, your life is going to change in ways you cannot even comprehend.
Hmm. Wonderfully put. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing everything you talked about, and for your time also, that you took the time to talk about it. Thank you very much. And I hope to talk to you soon again.
Thank you. Blessings be upon you and upon all the viewers. I hope you will have an absolutely amazing day, week, and the rest of your life.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Looking forward to talking to you again as well.